Hey, we're going to have fun today. We got a very intelligent townie. He's been a big-time townie for the last 6 years. You've probably seen his posts. He's got over 1,500 posts. Pretty much all of his customers are townies. It's Jeff Gladnick, who's the owner of GreatDentalWebsites.com. And for an old guy like me, I'm 52. Hell, when I was your age, Jeff, there wasn't even such thing as a website or an internet. I can still remember checking you out the first time in 1998 with this AOL dial-up, and they gave you like 3 numbers, and they'd all be busy, and you'd spend more time trying to get the call to go through than you would end up spending on the website. I remember getting through the first time and doing a search for dentist, and nothing came up. And in 1998, but who knows, probably did the search wrong. But hey, Jeff, so the average dentist, they get out of school, 25, 28 years old, they retire 65 to 70, but 45 to 50 is the top of the demographic mountain. And the bottom line is, when I went to dental school, when I got out, I had never seen a computer. I had never used a computer. Back in the rage when I got out of school, I was controversial because I took out an ad in 1987 in the Yellow Pages. And several of my dentist friends at local dental conventions sit there and say, don't you think that's crazy? And don't you think you're cheapening the profession? And hell, now no one even uses the phone book. I mean, except for a doorstop or a bookshelf or whatever. I just picked mine up the other day and walked it directly to the trash can and just threw it away. And I can't tell you if I recycle or not because I don't. One's blue, one's green. I don't know which one's which. But I'm just kidding. But so Jeff, so instead of focusing on the kids that just graduated from dental school last year and are your age, why don't we try to aim this talk today about old guys like me? And a lot of dentists that are my age say they got a website. They actually are, because we're making it so easy on Dentaltown. With the Dentaltown app, if all you know how to do is download the Dentaltown app, you can hear it. Good. And so tell us you come from a family of 7 dentists are in your family. So you cut your teeth on money from dentistry. So tell us why you started Great Dental Websites. What's your unique selling proposition? What do dentists need to know about their website? And talk about things like SEO and all that stuff.
So the way I never really intended to become a dentist, that was one of the few careers that was obvious to me, even as a little child. Sitting around Thanksgiving table looking at my uncles and aunts and my dad and my grandfather all discussing the business of dentistry. And I would just sit there and kind of absorb it. And I knew there were firefighters and policemen and there were dentists, and those were the 3 careers I was aware of. And so I was very tech savvy my entire life. I built a laser for my 7th grade science fair project, and I always was doing little things like that. I ran a bulletin board when I was in like 5th or 6th grade, probably back when you were first discovering the internet. So I kind of focused on computer engineering and software engineering, and that was what I did my degree in. And after that, I did what everybody does. You move to Silicon Valley in San Francisco and you work for a startup. And I did that for about 5-6 years. And around about the halfway point of that, my dad called me, and he basically wanted me to update his website that I made him when I was an undergrad for free. We had a nice deal. He did all my dental work forever, and I took care of his website, and that deal continues to this day. But my uncles got wind of this, and they wanted in on the deal too. And all the software jobs I kept getting were in content management systems, so publishing systems for huge companies that were handling millions of visitors a day, Adobe, Dun & Bradstreet, Hoover's, companies like that. And I knew how to make software where you could use the same bit of code for multiple different sites. That's what we did at DMB. And so I decided to apply this to dentistry. So my goal was to just have one website for all my family members. It would be different content, but the same software and the same look. They rejected the look, but the software idea made sense, and we kept going, and they referred friends. And by the time I was done, we probably had 10 or 15 customers, and it was a side business. And then I found Dentaltown. And I can't remember the name of the guy, because I applied. The business was founded with like $1,000 in a bank account. And we didn't have any money for advertising or trade shows or anything like that. And I inquired about putting it out on Dentaltown. And I was like, well, we can't afford that. And the guy who I spoke to, I think his name was Lonnie or something, he was like, well, just go on the forums and be useful. So that's what I did. And I was immediately accused by somebody of being a scammer, and kind of like tarred and feathered by that guy. But thankfully, other people believed in me, and we had a couple of customers. And after their projects were successful, they vouched for us, and it started to snowball. And today, I think we have about 210, 220 Townie customers out of 250. And it's almost our entire business has been built from Dentaltown users and their referrals. A very efficient way of marketing. It certainly took a lot of time and answering a lot of questions. So it certainly wasn't easy, and it was a little bit of hard work. But we've gotten the sales conversations are so much easier talking to Townies. They're much more educated. They know what they're talking about already. They understand the value of our services, as opposed to just kind of random calls that we get from people who search for us online. So we've really appreciated the Townie community, and that's kind of how we got to where we are today. We have about 20 staff now. We're based out of Denver. We just moved to a new 2,000 square foot office. So we're expanding. It's been a good ride.
Well, there's people, we only manage three things: people, time, and money. And what you basically just said, instead of doing it the easy way, just handing money to advertise and putting a banner ad on a website, you instead of using money, you use your time. And I think Townies love that. I mean, you look at, there's 150,000 dentists in the United States. Most of them at 5 o'clock have had enough. They want to go home, have a beer, watch ESPN, and check out. So who are these people that at night go log on to Dentaltown for hours? They're the cream of the crop that are just going for it. I mean, they want to improve. They want to do everything faster, easier, higher in quality, lower in cost, be more successful and all that stuff. And when you sit there and take your time to post your thoughts and be transparent with what you do, you build their trust. So then you build their respect. Then they love you, and then they become your customers. And
that's been my experience. We still get emails. I get emails from patients on my phone, or not patients, clients at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Some guys are quite obsessed.
Yeah, and then and the small companies can do that, because the big companies, they're no longer fast and nimble. And if one of their people wants to make a post, they got to run it through the legal department, and the lawyers have 49 reasons of why you can't do this and that. I mean, it's just crazy. And the guys like you, I call it guerrilla marketing. You're lean, you're mean, you go in there, you got more time than money, you go in there and you're completely honest, and you're on the witness stand. I mean, there's a reason they didn't put OJ on the witness stand. And I noticed in dentistry, people will tell you a sales pitch when they're with you one-on-one in your dental office, or they pull you to the side at a convention, and then all of a sudden say, well, how about I just write down this whole conversation and post it on Dentaltown? Oh my God, no, because they don't want to be cross-examined. They don't realize what they just told you could be completely picked apart if you put that up in front of 180,000 Townies. I mean, so
yeah, I mean, our sales pitch and the content on our website is basically summaries and improvements upon my posts on Dentaltown.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I don't even like to call it a sales pitch, but how that was developed. Just kind of listening to whatever there's not really magic to sales. It's and I do a lot of that now, even though I really don't like to think of myself as a salesman. It makes me feel slightly icky, especially as an engineer that's kind of beaten into you. But it's just listening to the problems, answering things, correctly, being extremely honest and ethical. A lot of our competitors see dentists as big bags of money, and I've never ever thought of them that way. I've just thought of them as people like my dad or my Uncle Dan or Uncle Joe or Aunt Kathy or my brother and his new wife Liz. Now we have another dentist from Liz. But
he married a dentist?
Yeah, he married a dentist.
Do you know that when dentists marry dentists, they fall into the lowest divorce category? I mean, their divorce category. Really? Yeah, if two physicians, dentists, or lawyers marry each other, the divorce rate's about 11%.
What if they work in the same practice?
Some people don't. If they got a strong office manager and they don't butt heads, but they have the lowest divorce rate. I think it's because they're both highly educated, and so they're both intelligent, and they know there's a hell of a lot of money at stake, and they just figure it out. But it's funny because I get requests from these big, huge companies all the time for market research, and I'm like, they just want to write a check easy for the answer. And I think to myself, in Dentaltown, on every thread you can create your own poll.
Oh, I
You
do
can
that all the
go,
time.
yeah, you can go in there
Not
and
not the
say,
poll, but informally, just asking dentists, what do you think about this? We're thinking about
but
doing it.
there is actually a poll, so you can't see everybody's voting. So you can go and start any thread, post a video, you can post an X-ray, you can post a picture, you can start a poll. And I tell these owners, well, why don't you just go ask the townies if you want their dental product from you, red or blue or thick or thin or big or small or whatever they want. And they don't want to engage. And I think what social media is, and you still see it in social media advertising where they build a website where they still want it to be like a radio advertisement or a broadcast TV commercial or a flyer. They still don't want to do engagement. Even when they start a Facebook page for their dental office, you go back there and you scroll back the last 12 months. They didn't even make a comment on anyone's reply. They didn't, like anybody's comment. They just thought, oh well, I'll do the Facebook thing and then I'll get a bunch of new patients. But that's the old days. I mean, I can still remember the paper boy rode his bike by the house. He just threw the paper at us. I mean, it was like that was the end of his relationship with us. And
we don't even get the paper.
Yeah, and those days are gone because the consumer doesn't want anything thrown at them. They want engagement. They want to be connected. And the other thing I think guys like you, I'd be interesting to find out, are more of your clients from the rural than the big city?
It's pretty diversified. We have clients in middle of nowhere where there's maybe one dentist, if that. And I had a conversation with them when I look up their site. We just talked to a dentist the other day. They had gotten a huge quote for SEO, and we're like, if you want to roll the dice here, I think we don't have to spend a lot of money. There's one other guy in town. He has a cookie cutter canned content site. All we need to do is the bare minimum here, and if we're a little patient, we can probably save a lot of money.
Okay, I'm gonna take you out right there. So, what is the bare minimum on a website? Why? Let's start with the basics. Why does a dentist need a website?
Well, I mean, everybody searches for almost all products and services online, and not everybody, but even my grandmother has a VoIP line, uses Skype, searches for things online. She's 87. There's not a lot of people in the market who don't use online at all. And even if somebody hears about you on TV, there's a really good chance they're going to go online and research you. And we use tracking numbers and tracking domains to verify that anyway. We know that happens with some of our customers. So you have to have some kind of presence online. There's varying theories on how much you need. I like to see dentists have at least, custom content for their site. Either they wrote it or they wrote us the rough draft, ideally, and then we can clean up the grammar and the spelling and that sort of things. Most of the time, we'll do a long interview that's like 15, 20 minutes with one of our copywriters, and we want to know what do they do differently? Do they consider themselves, say, a dental spa, or something that would make my dad bristle if I told him he should rebrand as a spa? That would offend him. But it works extremely well for a lot of our customers, and they want to present that image. So the copywriting has to be authentic and unique. You can do that if you have somebody who's a professional. The more the dentist is involved in the practice, I think the better in that process, the better it turns out. I like for dentists to have custom media and pictures on their sites. I really like to see examples of their work, their before and after cases. Not only can we usually rank those for specific terms, if somebody's looking for, if you type in veneers, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, for example, one of our clients, who's a townie, Dr. Keller, and his partner, Dr. Oshesky, they have the first 3 spots, and the first 2 are before and after cases that they posted. There's lots of opportunities when you post content like that, video testimonials, anything you can do to make your practice different. Because 7 years ago, you could have just bought any old dental website, and you were the guy who came up when someone looked for a dentist in your area. You were the person with a website. But that just isn't good enough anymore. Now, almost everybody has a website, and you have to stand out. So custom content, we like to have a custom design. We can kind of use a stock one as a filler, as a temporary measure in the meantime, but it should be customized. And we want the dentist and their practice to become involved on a regular basis, to show examples of their work, examples of their patient testimonials, things like that. The more the dentist, and to implement a review process and to get their patients involved in promoting them online. That engagement part is very important, especially on Facebook. I've seen plenty of practices just kind of throw canned content at the wall on Facebook, and it really doesn't get anywhere. But we have a couple customers that have done a phenomenal job marketing their practices on Facebook, and it actually produces patients for them because they engage patients. They post, unique content of their patients, of their staff doing things, interacting with the community, contests. I can go down a litany of things that they've done with that.
But I'll go to a dentist. I'm in front of 100 dentists every week somewhere, lecturing somewhere, and I'll say to a dentist, "Do you have a Facebook page?" And I'll say, "Yeah." And I'll say, "Well, you got a cell phone in your hand. Show me your Facebook app and hit it and let me see your page." And it's like, what? They can't even find their own page. And then some of these people will have companies doing their social media for them, and they can't even post on their own page.
I don't like that. I'm okay with companies kind of creating a baseline of content, like, a couple of like posts or memes a week. But what we really like the dentist to do is either take it on themselves and post content, or deputize one of their staff that's been with the practice for a while and they trust, and you should review it. But to give them, the mandate to post unique content of the practice. And we have one customer, Dr. Wade Kiefer, in Fayetteville, Arkansas. If you just Google Fayetteville, Arkansas,
that's where my sister lives.
Oh, good. He's the first guy that comes up there. He's easy to find. But I just went through his Facebook page before this because he's a great example. But they're posting lots of volunteering pictures. They're volunteering at the local VA. They're volunteering for something. And their staff always take pictures of it and post it to their Facebook. Food drives. They're doing like a pet supply / pet food drive in their office, and their waiting room just has this growing pile that I see every couple of days expand of pet supplies. Any kind of staff-related events, birthdays, anniversaries, accomplishments, awards, any kind of training that the doctor or the staff takes is posted. Any new technology or equipment that come into the practice. We talked about the community involvement. If they're at the local fair or in a parade or something, they're in a rural area. Well, kind of. Never actually been to Fayetteville. But they do a lot of giveaways, iPads, Kindles. One of our clients gave away a barbecue grill around Memorial Day, gift cards, and also content from the websites. We've gone to great lengths to integrate our software with Facebook and Twitter's APIs. So whenever you add new content to your website, at least with our platform, and I'm sure there are plugins for other companies too, there's a little checkbox at the bottom. So if you post a new before and after case or a new patient testimonial video, you just check a box and it goes onto your Facebook and Twitter accounts. So that's an easy way to just kind of kill 3 birds with 1 stone. But all those topics, that's the kind of thing you should give to whoever's going to be in charge of Facebook and tell them to go crazy.
That's why I don't understand it. So I'll be at a seminar, I'll be lecturing, and here's a dentist sitting there, and he's got 2 receptionists, 2 assistants, and a hygienist, and he either doesn't have a Facebook page, or he's paying somebody so much a month to run his Facebook page. And I go up there, he can't find, or she can't find the Facebook app on her cell phone. I find the page or whatever. They don't even have administration rights to post. I scroll back over the last year. There's no comments, there's no shares, there's no likes, there's no engagement. And he's sitting there, and then I'll go to his 4 staff members, 2 assistants, 2 receptionists. I just say, okay, how many of you have a Facebook page? All their hands go up. And then I say, okay, who checks their Facebook page the most? And it'd be like maybe 1 person every other day. And then maybe 2 people once or twice a day. But out of 5 people, there's a freak sitting there that checks it 10 times a day. And I'm like, well, why doesn't she just do it? I mean, why didn't she just walk around the office and turn on her video recorder and say, "Doctor, give me 60 seconds on on tooth whitening or flossing, whatever the heck. And then you upload that stuff and it just all becomes alive. And I think staff are, you got to treat them like the same thing as you do your children. If you judge a fish by the ability to climb a tree, it goes its whole life thinking it's stupid when it's really a genius fish. And I sit there with, with my 4 boys, you took them to all these different sports, then different activities, grabbed each one of them and they're off and on their way. And it's your job to go in there and find out, okay, here's your dental assistant. But what else could she be capably amazing? Maybe she's your social media expert. Maybe she's into supplies. Maybe she's into cutting costs, blah, 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 blah. But, you really got to delegate this stuff and you got to own it. Someone in the office has to own it.
Yeah, and a lot of dentists have trouble delegating. A lot of dentists are perfectionists, and they, because they want their work to be perfect, and they kind of want everything to be perfect too. And that's, especially with patient testimonials and videos, I have a different opinion than some other marketing people for this. I don't think you have to have a professional crew come in to shoot the video. I think that's always great, but and maybe for your intro video you want to do that professionally, but for patient testimonials, they need to be authentic. And some of the ones I see look like they're shot in a Hollywood studio with paid actors, and you can't. And the patients were coached, and they did a great job, but they look too polished. Yeah, and everything is just glowing. And I'd rather have somebody almost stumble over their words, their hair be a mess, look almost slightly disheveled if they have hair.
How's my hair looking?
Us. About as good as mine.
I gotta take your road back. Being 52 is that I'm telling you, the pictures on my iPhone are better than any professional could take when I was in high school and college at the family reunions and weddings and all that stuff. And the videos they shoot. I remember sitting around the house with Dad with that little 35 millimeter thing and blah, 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 and the film would break. So yeah, and reality TV has exploded. People like real, authentic stuff.
Yeah,
and it's faster, it's low cost, and it's higher in quality.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you can get in the habit of doing it yourself, and you can do it, you're right, with an iPhone, you should get one of those like $8 tripods from Amazon for an iPhone. But once you do that, you can shoot pretty good quality video on that, and then you get in the habit of doing it yourself.
So you're saying just give plasma one time, and you can afford a tripod for your camera.
There you go. It's you could just sell a couple tubes of toothpaste and do that. You could find that money on the ground or in the couch cushion in your waiting room. But it's not that hard, and you have to get in the habit of doing it, because it seems like, and we talk to dentists all the time, like, well, we don't have any before and after cases. Well, we don't have any video testimonies. Well, we don't have any pictures of the office. Well, you have to start, and you don't have to do it in a day. But if you don't, the only times that I can think of where we came up short for marketing campaigns where I just looked at it and was like, gosh, this was kind of a waste of money, was when the dentist had almost no involvement. I don't like the type of client where they just want to send us a check and then kind of check out. And you don't have to be totally involved, but usually I'll say, 15, 20 minutes a week from somebody in the practice, anybody in the practice, give us anybody, we will train them. And we'll show them exactly what to do, and they can call us up as many times as they like, as often as they like, and we'll help them.
What I tell that dentist is that because dentists are highly educated, they're very smart. These boys and girls all knew math, and applied math is physics, applied physics, chemistry, applied chemistry is biology, and applied biology to dentistry. And when people tell me, dentists aren't good businessmen or dentists aren't that smart, it's like, no. I've been with these boys and girls for 52 years. They're wickedly smart, but they don't like to delegate. They think if anything's going to be done right, it's done themselves. And what I would like to remind dentists is that, one day you're going to go from 6 feet above the ground to 6 feet below the ground, and the whole planet's going to keep turning, and 7 billion people aren't going to blink. So if you have to delegate 100% at death, will your dental office survive you? What will your legacy be? What would happen if when Ray Kroc died and McDonald's all shut down? Or Sam Walton died and Walmart shut down? Or when Edison died, General Electric just folded? You got to build an institution so that when they call your home someday and say, hey, where's the dentist? You say, oh, he had a cardiac arrest, he's dead in bed. That's like, no problem. We'll put an ad on Dental Town for an associate, and we'll be good. We'll be good in 3 days.
Yeah, and that's a stumbling block for a lot of dentists, and they want to do everything themselves. Sometimes that's the case with marketing. I know there are some dentists, especially in Dental Town, like Chip Payette and Mike Barr, who have learned SEO themselves and learned a lot of the online marketing themselves. But that's I think that for a lot of dentists, unless you really like it and you want to get into it, like those two particular dentists, there's a lot better and more profitable uses of your time than learning how to do keyword research on Google. And learning how to, tune and optimize meta tags and title tags and H1 tags and integrate Google Webmaster Tools properly and schema.org settings and all these little technical bits that, you'd probably be better off leaving to a company like us or somebody else who's more tech savvy. I couldn't see the crown to save my life, but we're good at marketing and we're good at building websites. And dentists should recognize that too. Unless you really want to get into it as a hobby, that's a different story.
Right. And Chip Payette and Mike Barr, gosh darn, they love social media and websites with a passion, but they probably spend a lot of time on it. And there's a lot of dentists who are married with children and and they just don't have the time. So that's when you got to trade some of your money for some, to free up some of your time. But hey, I want to go to a big thing, a big important thing. All these dentists hear of SEO. When you're in a town like Phoenix and you type in dentist, I've never gone through all the pages, but according to Google, there's 1.3 million things come up and in 0.015 seconds. So tell me, in a town like Phoenix with 3,500 dentists in the valley, 6,000 dentists in the state, what is SEO, and why do some guys make the first page and others don't?
Well, I mean, there's
what's the low hanging fruit on SEO?
It's the long tail search term. So, I mean, for example, if you're like I know there are some dentists who are holistic, and they'll tell you that they want to remove the mercury amalgams and put in for health reasons, and that caters to a certain type of patients. So if you can find niches like that, and you can develop content and work with your webmaster, whoever's developing the content, you can sometimes get some low-hanging fruit like that. However, if you're in a huge city like Phoenix, I would not advise to immediately call up somebody like me and say, I want to be the first page when somebody types Phoenix dentist. That's not the low-hanging fruit. That's getting out a ladder and going to the top of the tree. And we don't usually want to start there. There's probably, there are still searches by zip codes. There are searches by neighborhoods. When I lived in San Francisco, I used Yelp, and I know that has a very mixed reputation, and perhaps deservedly so. But everybody would use Yelp or Google, and you would search by neighborhood. You wouldn't search for a dry cleaner in San Francisco. Nobody wants to go across the city. You search for a dry cleaner in Noe Valley, where I lived. So there's probably neighborhood breakdowns. In Denver, I live in a neighborhood called Washington Park. So people search for restaurants and things by the neighborhood. Those types of searches are very attainable and much less expensive and much more cost effective, and you'll get a return on investment a lot quicker if you focus on things like that instead of trying to go for the whole enchilada right out of the gate.
Now, would you buy the URL like your neighborhood dentist that you're talking about, or would you just try to get one? Are you a big fan of just like one website and all these search terms go to that, or are you a fan of like 10 different URL websites?
No, the multiple websites doesn't usually work as well as it used to. We used to engage in that when Google would give you a reward for if you had the exact keyword that somebody typed in. So my dad is in Wilmington, Delaware, but technically he's in Pike Creek, and there's also a neighboring town called Hocassin. So we bought WilmingtonCosmeticDentist.com, PikeCreekDentist.com, HocassinDentist.com. We developed little microsites for each, but after a while, Google advised that they didn't want people to do that. It was confusing their local search algorithm when that came out. So we stopped doing that, and we always listen to exactly what Google says. We never ever want to break the code in the Bible, so to speak.
But then there's some experts that go out there and say, and I've said this before, there'll be some consultant talking on SEO. And you're like, okay, dude, if you knew how Google worked, then why don't you go get a job for Yahoo or Bing, and maybe they could get some market share? I mean, what percent of the market share does Google have?
Oh, it's like at least 70 or 80%.
And how much of that market share does Microsoft, Bing, or Yahoo want?
Oh, well, Microsoft wants 100%.
Yeah, so if Microsoft wants 100%, of their search business. So if Microsoft wants 100% of Google's business on Bing, how does this guy lecturing know so much when Microsoft can't even figure it out?
Well, I mean that's I think two different problems. Stealing, because Bing and Yahoo and Google all want to answer questions from users, and so being able to rank a site organically and knowing the best practices, and it's not so much wizardry. We have a giant checklist of best practices that we do for every dental practice that we start up with. There's lots of niche dental directories that we'll create listings for, lots of what Google calls citations, national directories that they used for some reason as a reference for their local search engine. We have to make sure all the Google properties are properly filled out. So that whole process is very different than Microsoft's challenge of making their searches more relevant and faster. Both of those companies want to reduce what they call web spam, and that's where it's against their best wishes for a dentist to have 10, 15, 20 websites, because it wouldn't be very useful to a consumer if you got all 10, the first 10 spots on Google were all Dr. Farhan. somebody's going to get it by at least the first 2 or 3. So they want a little bit of variety, and they want you to have a single home. And there's a lot of people who do what we do. I mean, there's probably 100, maybe 200 competitors that we have that are dental marketing companies, and probably 100 of them are outright frauds. And you'll read about this on Dental Town from time to time. And I'd rather not discuss anybody by name, but there's a couple people that usually come up, and they're just scams. They take people's money, they charge the cards. And billing is something that's surprisingly harder to do, especially when you have a lot of moving parts and recurring billing. And we've made billing mistakes, and we've always rebated things, and it's just it's horrible to hear stories where people are just like, having to sue these companies, and they take them to collections, and they never delivered anything in the first place. And there's a lot of other companies that try their best. Like SEO, I always like to say it's kind of like weightlifting. I went to the gym a few weeks ago and lifted weights, and Arnold Schwarzenegger probably lifted weights an hour ago, and we could both testify in court that we're weightlifters, but he's a lot better at it than me, even at 60. And SEO is a lot of the same things. You have to ask, and you have to evaluate companies based on their performance. Ask for references. If they can't give you 5, 10, 20 dental references, and you should search those things yourselves, and they should have, at least some decent placement. And you should call those dentists and ask them how much they pay. Ask them how many new patients they get. Ask them how satisfied they are with the communication and the reporting. That's basically how we sell our services.
Well, the whole motto with Dental Town has never changed since 1998. The whole motto was, with the internet, no dentist should ever have to practice solo again. And I'm always hearing these whining stories and from dentists, and I'm like, dude, if you just would have put that company's name in Dental Town, you would have pulled up 20 threads telling you this is a bad idea.
I've offered discounts to customers if they posted a question about us on Dental Town publicly, because it usually turns into an advertisement for us. And I've also I've asked clients after they're done, at the beginning of the process, we'll give you a slight discount, but would you be willing to share your story on Dental Town? We won't censor you in any respect, and we don't even really enforce that, but we just ask them to, and a lot of them do, and that's those positive experiences. I also like to let my staff know that, because it kind of gives the right kind of motivation that this dentist has said they're going to review us after this process on Dental Town, where we get all of our customers from. So we need to make sure we do a good job. And we do, and we get a glowing review, and it just leads to more customers who read about us on Dental Town. Okay, so now we're at halftime. We're 30 minutes down, 30 minutes to go. Give them some more. Should we go over that checklist you were talking about, or what? That's probably too much in the weeds and boring technical details. I can speak at a high level of it. It might be more interesting to dentists to talk about the things that they should do before they call somebody like us, or the things if they have before they call somebody like me. The project will go smoother. Okay, so give them some meat and potatoes of what they should know. The most successful dentists that work with us, the dentists who get 10, 15, 20, sometimes 20, 25 new patients per month from their website, they'll do a couple things that we've kind of noticed all have in common. They're consistently creating content for their sites. They're adding before and after cases with just 2 or 3 sentences to describe the case, and our software makes it really easy to do that. And there's probably plugins for WordPress or whatever you're using that should be able to do this. But your webmaster should be able to give you some kind of system for you to add content like that very easily. And you should be doing that probably once a week. Add a new case or a video testimonial. That's another thing we see a lot. That helps kind of convert patients who haven't grown up going to their dad for 34 years and are a little bit apprehensive about going to the dentist at all. They're a little scared. So patient testimonial videos can help reassure a patient that's kind of on the fence that you're a good guy, especially if they look authentic, that you'll do a good job. They also both of those pieces of content tend to come up in searches. You'll see videos come up if you look for, a root canal in Gasport, New York. One of our clients, keyword queries, a video will come up with one of Dr. Kaplansky's root canal patients. I want to stop and ask you a technical question. I've been told, and by dentists, so go figure, they do root canals and crowns, not SEO, but I've been told that if I sent you a text, that it might be, if I said, hey Jeff, what are you doing this weekend? That it might just be like maybe 10 feet of ones and zeros. Not really anything much to trip up a Google search engine algorithm that I think has, 1,500 different segments to it?
the latest one?
They don't really make it clear, but
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be backlinks and content, and there's tons of factors.
Yeah. But if I post a photo, because you were saying that's really great to put before and after photos, that a photo would have enough ones and zeros to probably go around the earth once. But when you sit there and take a video, and I walked up to Jeff, my hygienist, and said, "Hey, Jeff, give them a pump job for why they should brush 2 minutes twice a day, floss nightly, and use tongue scrapers and mouthwash." And the hygienist gives a rah-rah cheerleading deal a minute long, that video would be enough ones and zeros to circle there 10 or 15 times, and that would trip every part of Google's 1500 segment search engine optimization, and that if you really want to trip up SEO, it's not going to be by a sentence or a paragraph. It's going to be by a photo good and a video crushes it. Would you believe that's true? Or
to a certain extent, that has some truth to it. A lot of times videos are less competitive. And you'll see videos if you look for specific services in a city for dental services. You'll see a video come up on the first page, and a lot of times there's not really any competition because no dentist have bothered to upload, like you said, an interview with the hygienist, or here's a quick explanation. Like we had a dentist in Walnut Creek that just has a kind of a kitschy video interview of him in front of his CEREC machine showing you a blank and explaining how it works. Nobody really bothers to record that kind of content, or very few dentists do. So you can kind of win some of those searches like that and kind of get in through the back door because there's less competition. But the size isn't so important. Google does like to see pictures and mixed media on sites, and if you tag it correctly, that can work very well.
What does mixed media mean?
Well, besides text, just pictures and video content. And I think patients do too. It gives them a couple different ways.
And what did tag it right mean?
So when you have an image, the image should have a proper title for the file name. So instead of calling it like Smile, you should call it, Crown before and after case, or maybe even slip the name of your city in there if you really want to be cheeky. You can overdo that though.
Seriously, the name of the JPEG photo affects the search engine?
Oh yeah. I mean, it affects your searches when you're looking through your computer for a picture, doesn't it?
I did not know that, usually if I take a photo and email it, it's saved to my desktop. It's just a bunch of numbers or something.
Yeah.
But you're saying if I change that to, I live in Phoenix, but you're right. Our neighborhood's Ahwatukee. And in Ahwatukee, if you ask anybody, where do you live? They always say Ahwatukee. They never say Phoenix. So if I on that photo save that as Ahwatukee before and after cosmetic dentistry case, that would be a better search engine optimization. That the picture is called 127GH.
Yeah, that's a better technique, and you can overdo that. I mean, you could make a file name that was like 200 characters long and was just like Ahwatukee dentist, Ahwatukee cosmetic dentist, and it'd be spammy, and Google wouldn't like that. But if you give it just the minimum amount of information, maybe the city where you are, the name of the procedure, dentist or whatever, that's fine, and that can help if it's done right, or just the name of the procedure. That's useful. Be careful, because some dentists will have the name of their patients in there, and that could be a HIPAA violation, so try to avoid that. And you shouldn't have, and some practice, sometimes we'll see like EXIF data embedded in the image that has patient information in it. Our software will kill that.
Can I just say my one HIPAA story?
Yeah, go ahead. It's probably bad.
Well, no, I mean, I've been around this block a few times. Like when I got out of school, the first corporate change was starting. Orthodontic Centers of America made it to the New York Stock Exchange. There was a dozen on NASDAQ. And before I was out of school 10 years, every one of them had exploded and gone, done. And then nothing happened for 10 years. So this is round 2 for me. When I got out of school, it was the big bag OSHA man. And the OSHA man was going to come and get you, and you're going to go to jail. And all the dentists lived in fear of the OSHA man. Finally, I said to myself, who the hell is this OSHA man? So I called Washington, D.C., got the name of OSHA, found out the name of the head guy, left like 30 messages for him. Finally, I'm in the middle of a root canal a month later, and my assistant comes, yeah, the director of OSHA's from Washington, D.C. is on the phone. So I run for the phone. I said, hey, I'm a dentist, and every meeting I go to, everybody's scared of the OSHA man and this and that. And all these dental consultants are saying all these different things, and I'm trying to get a grasp on it. And I don't want to listen to 10 different consultants saying different things. I want to hear from you. What am I supposed to do? And he goes, aren't you a dentist? And I said, yeah. He goes, I'm looking up right now. He goes, in the United States of America, Each year, 3 in 1,000 miners die. In the United States of America, 3 in every 1,000 agriculture workers die. I just looked up dentistry. 0.00 workers die per year. I swear to God, if an OSHA inspector walks in there, you call me up and I'll fire him from Washington, D.C. So then it all fades away. And now it's the HIPAA man.
It's
And
definitely
nobody has seen the HIPAA man. We don't know if it's a boy or a girl, short or tall, skinny or fat. It's just there's about 20% of all Earthlings who always think it's the end of the world, the sky is falling, and I just don't live in fear. I figure, I mean, I just don't care. But anyway, that was a unnecessary tangent that probably should be edited out of
it's
the
relevant, and I hear that used as a fear tactic quite often at conferences, and it's kind of a, well, what's your risk tolerance?
And the other reason I don't fear HIPAA, because and generally speaking, I think our government is so incompetent they couldn't do anything about anything. I mean, they seem to be a bunch of paralysis by analysis. But anyway, so back to SEO, because that's the big deal. I mean, because there is no benefit of a website if there's no SEO to it, correct?
Well, there's some benefit to a website, but there's a lot more if you can use it as a marketing tool.
You know what I like most about websites and companies? What I love the most is, Phoenix is crazy traffic and all that stuff. Yeah. I like going to the company's website, pushing their address, and then it pulls up iPhone Maps or Apple Maps or whatever. Then you just hit directions to there, and then I have a voice-activated direction to go to my physician, my chiropractor, my dentist, whatever. I actually love that feature the most.
We have a little button on the top of all of our sites if you view them on a mobile device that says "Get Directions." That doesn't display on a desktop because you can do exactly what you said. You can go to the contact page and find the map. But on a mobile device, if somebody's in a car, you don't want them to crash on the way to get their crown taken care of. That can be useful. Same thing with the little click to call button. Those are two features that dentists should consider having. Very prominent place on their mobile site.
And let's talk that a little further. Can you give us the main differences about how you should be thinking of your website versus someone viewing it on a smartphone versus a desktop at work or home?
Yeah, well, you should try to bring your site up on a mobile device and see how it looks. That's kind of the first reality check. And
are you still seeing where the dentist will pull it up and they'll have their desktop will have flash pictures and photos, and then Apple doesn't support Flash? Do they still not support Flash?
I think there's a way you can do it if you really know what you're doing and you can hack into the phone.
But I still hear a lot of dentists that when they pull up their website on their iPhone, that it doesn't look anything like their desktop. There's a lot of blank pictures. Is that still an issue?
Yeah, I see that all the time. I do video reviews or live reviews with dental clients probably 5 or 6 times a week. So I'll share my screen, and they'll call us up on the phone, and sometimes it's ad hoc if I'm free. I'll just take the call immediately, and we'll just dive in and see what's going on.
Will you do that with my team?
We could, yeah.
Okay.
But it's one of the things we do is we always check how it looks on a mobile simulator, and if it's Flash, it just doesn't load at all. And that's, as you said, Steve Jobs hated Flash. It had bad memory and CPU and battery consumption, so he banned it. And Tim Cook has extended that philosophy apparently, and it really doesn't work very well on Android devices with few exceptions either. So if you have a Flash site, you're probably shutting the door on between 20 and 40%, depending on the market, of all potential patients, because that's what we see for mobile usage.
So you're seeing, so you're saying 20 to 40% of a website is going to be viewed on a cell phone?
Whether or not you have a mobile site or not.
Okay, whether or not you have a mobile site or not, 20 to 40% of the views are going to be on the smartphone.
Yeah, that's the range we see for our clients.
Is it different urban or rural, or?
It can vary.
Because in Kansas, they still don't teach evolution. Do they have iPhones in Kansas?
Well, that's just in the state schools. I'm
just kidding. Another unnecessary comment that should be edited.
Trial about that. I feel like you're trying to rope me into some kind of political argument in which I agree with you.
No, I'm a comedian in my own mind. No one else thinks so.
I've heard that. I'd like an update on that.
Do you ever build a website and it works differently or is seen differently on an iPhone versus a Droid? And a Droid to our viewers.
Well, sometimes the browsers render slightly differently, and you can spend a lot of money achieving what's called, pixel perfect rendering. And do you want it to work on old versions of Internet Explorer that haven't been really used since 2006? And we really don't try to do that. We feel the good point on the ROI curve is more, is this going to work and look pretty much the same on every device? And that is our goal. For mobile devices, we want to have brand consistency. So we want to have the same colors, we want to have the logo appearing, that kind of thing, the same content, just how Google advises you to do it. It should be responsive. And your website is responsive. I checked that for the call.
Which one? Are you talking about Dental Town, or are you talking about Today's Dental, my dental office?
Today's Dental.
So what did you think of that website? You viewed it before you came here?
I viewed it very briefly I wanted to see just a couple things. I want to make sure you guys had unique before and after cases, which you do. I want to make sure they were shown contextually with the content about them, which they were. The content was a little light, and I would have liked to have seen video testimonials interspersed, or a video interview with Dr. Ferrant. So that seems, and you probably have the setup to bang that out in 30 minutes. You could probably finish that after this call, just one after another. What is the benefits of doing a crown? What are the benefits of Invisalign? What type of patients should get teeth whitening? Whatever you want to do. But those kinds of things are very useful, and that's the kind of content we love to have when a dentist comes to us and says, "I've already done this. I read your post on Dental Town."
Will you shoot me your recommendations on my email, howard@dentaltown.com?
Yeah, I think I have your email. I can take care of that.
Yeah, howard@dentaltown.com, and I'll bang this out. And then the viewers, we want everybody listening to this podcast. If everybody listening to this podcast goes to todaysdental.com, now would that increase SEO, or does Google measure how many?
Yes, actually, yeah, they do. It would, that by itself wouldn't do it. But if everyone looked for, what was the name of that city you're in?
Well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, but we call it Ahwatukee.
Ahwatukee. If everyone was looking, if thousands of people kept looking for Ahwatukee dentist, and they're all across the world, and they keep clicking on Today's Dental, then yeah, that's one signal Google uses, the click-through rate. You want to be careful, because if Google got wind of that, they very rarely will apply a manual correction or a manual penalty, but that would be considered gaming it.
See, I put Sergey Brin and Larry Page in the HIPAA and OSHA man deal. They don't have time for some little short, fat, bald dentist in Ahwatukee.
Yeah, it's unlikely that you're going to cross their radar.
Yeah.
They have bigger fish to fry. They usually will go, you hear stories about them going after agencies that hire, thousands upon thousands of people in third world countries to do this repetitively as a strategy.
Well, I got to tell you, I was I lectured in 4 continents last month, and it seems like whenever I'm in hotels, whether it be from Hong Kong to Rio de Janeiro, when you're talking to the hotel manager and all that kind of stuff, they say that the company, the hotel across the street from Rio de Janeiro, hired some firm in India to just write bad reviews about them all day long, every day. So then they found another company in India, and now they're paying them $2,000 a month to write bad reviews about the guy across the street. And I've heard that in Hong Kong, New Delhi, Kathmandu, Nepal, San Paulo. So I'm sitting here as a consumer thinking, well, hell, now I don't trust any online reviews, because I already know that I've already had 5 hotel managers in 5 different countries tell me he pays people to write bad reviews about the guy across the street.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not limited to just hotels. The Wall Street Journal, I think it was, did a study, and they found that 30% of all reviews online, period, were fake. There are companies and individuals that make a living writing nothing but positive or negative reviews, and they're very good at it, and they're making low 6 figures. And all they do is review products on Amazon that they've never bought. They're just lying. And it
was 30%.
I believe that was the number that was quoted.
Did you post that on Dental Town?
Somebody else did, actually. Wall Street Journal, fake reviews.
Yeah, send me that link. I'd love to read that.
Fake reviews. And even
at
government.
this time, I'm going to ask all the viewers to please write me a fake review for todaysdental.com. Say he was the most handsome dentist you ever saw, that when you walked in the room, you couldn't tell it was Matt Damon or Brad Pitt. And he was the most tall, dark, and handsome dentist, and you didn't feel a thing.
As long as they believe that, I think you're okay. So, here's a story on MarketWatch. 25% of all the reviews posted on Yelp are outright fraudulent.
Now I've seen on Dental Town a couple times some dentists will get into a pissing match and start spamming each other with bad reviews. You see that very much, or is that pretty?
I hear about that. I hear mostly I'll hear it's a recalcitrant former employee that got fired, and then we'll like just slam the dentist online. That happens.
I also hear, tell me if this is true, that we know for 25 years of data that 89% of dental appointments are made by women, and mom makes the appointment, not dad. And I'm also reading that about 60% of the online review market is women read 60% online reviews and men are only 40. Do you also read that? Agree with that statistic?
The first statistic, I've heard similar numbers broached. I haven't heard the second one, but that makes sense. My wife uses Groupon there, and one thing the dentist should be aware of, and every dentist should do. A lot of dentists will, when they're trying to track their referral sources or their patient sources, somebody will say, "Well, I got referred by Howard," and they'll say, "Okay," and they'll mark Howard's chart. He referred somebody, and that's it. But that is usually not the end of the story. A lot of reviews now will take place online, and this is something that is, I think, phenomenally underutilized by dentists. These review or referral contests. And I can send one to you, and I've posted these on Dental Town too, and there's one on our blog. But there's one example from nextdoor.com, which every dentist should have a presence on. And mine, like my wife is on there, and that's how I hear about it. But people come on, they'll move to the neighborhood, they'll move to Denver, or they'll join one of her mom's groups. If you aren't monitoring or even sponsoring the local moms meetup groups on Facebook or on Meetup, you're crazy. You should be involved in that. If you have kids, your wife should be involved in that, or your husband if there's a dad's group. But like people move to the area and say, "Who do you guys go to for the dentist?" And 5, 6, 7, 8 people, sometimes 20, will go on and say, "Well, we go to Today's Dental. We go to Phoenix Cosmetic Dental. We go to whatever, Progressive Dental." And somebody won that contest and then came in and said, "I got referred by Howard." But that is not the whole story. There are 20 other people to compare it to, and that's where your reviews and your website can make the difference, because most moms, are going to do a little bit of homework, and they'll probably at least read the reviews, unless it was reviewed by their sister or their mom or something. They'll probably read your reviews, and that's where you have an opportunity. But you have to close that. You have to stand out, and you have to have good reviews. And monitoring those types of meetup groups and making sure you're mentioned, or you have patients that do it or friends that do it, is very useful.
That sounds like a great article that you should write tonight for Dental Town.
I'm being roped into more free work here, but all the free work I've done so far for Dental Town has had a good ROI. I'd be happy to do that.
So let's go with online reviews. So on Dental Town, every once in a while, a dentist, they have a they're perfectionists, and nothing gets under their skin worse than when someone writes an online review that says, "Man, I'm telling you, that dentist was rotten." So tell me,
I've gotten a couple calls like that.
Yeah. So what do you do when a dentist is having a mental breakdown because he got a bad online review? What's your thinking?
I'll tell you exactly what I told my dad when he got the first negative review he had gotten in 30 years.
And by the way, that was me. Don't tell him. That was me.
That's unfortunate. But
for not being able to shape you into becoming a dentist.
He'd probably be mildly honored by that. So he got a negative review because the insurance screwed something up and then blamed his office, and the patient believed insurance. So they gave him a single-star review on Google and claimed he was trying to rip him off or steal money or something. And my mom handles all his content and that kind of stuff, encouraging patients to do their reviews. And so she called me up all upset, and I said, "Don't panic. Don't reply. Do not reply, because the worst thing that can happen." And I've seen this, and I've heard Dr. Tao beat this drum, and he's absolutely right. The worst thing that can happen is you reply, and then what went from a 2-line negative review that might have got lost turns into this 3-paragraph diatribe against everything that you have. So they're commenting about your car, about the watch you wear, the clothes, the staff, the smell in the waiting room. Everything is criticized. Previously it was just a small thing. So
don't stir shit, or it'll make it stink more.
Yeah, exactly. That's one way to put it. And you should kind of try to engage the patient first and call them. And a lot of times you may be able to walk through them and correct the mistake, and they'll take it down. That happens. This patient didn't take it down, but they at least elevated it to 3 stars, so that was kind of a tie.
What about what percent of them are anonymous? to where you wouldn't know who did it.
Not so much anymore because Google, and I think they just reversed that policy, but I think a lot of people are posting through Google Plus files and they're verified, and a lot of the ones that get through and don't get filtered have real names. And even if you just have the first name, last initial, or and you may be able to figure it out from that if it wasn't the hotel across the street paying somebody. Oh, and that was the other thing I want to mention. A lot, like one of the things that used to work really well for Black Hat SEO, which we never did, but it used to work, is if you had hundreds of thousands of backlinks. And that's one thing where if a dentist is purchasing SEO services and they see a high number of, we're going to make lots of links for you, just run the other way, because this company is trying to cheat and they're going to get slammed. And so now there are companies that will sell the same services that used to work but now get penalized. Now they'll sell you those services against your competitor. So you can hire somebody to make 200,000 fake backlinks against your competitor, and then Google penalize you.
Okay, explain what a backlink is. Explain what you just said.
So like if you posted on the front page of Dental Town, Great Dental Websites is a fantastic dental website company or dental marketing company, and you had a link going to our company's website, which would be a great idea. That would be very beneficial for us because Google would say Dental Town is a huge site. It gets a lot of traffic. It has a lot of other websites linking to it. It's a legitimate authority for dental information. And if on the front page they're linking to Great Dental Websites for dental internet marketing, that must mean that Great Dental Websites is a good website to show when someone types in dental internet marketing or something like that. That's kind of the basic theory. So to apply this, if you were sneaky, you could hire some company to create, Dentist Phoenix on hundreds of thousands of random websites all over the internet, and Google would find this and they say, my God, there's 100,000 websites that are linking back to today's dental. This must be a very important office if someone looks for Phoenix Dentist, because that's what the text is. And that's the way the first iteration of Google search engine worked, but that quickly got gamed and Google got wind of this, and that doesn't work at all anymore. So those are the backlinks, those thousands of links. And you want to build some backlinks. You want to have links on your Facebook page, on your Twitter profile, on your Google Plus profile, on legitimate places like that, on your local dental association. If you're sponsoring a little league team and the league has a website, or you're hosting an event and the newspaper is advertising that event, you're doing free dental care for veterans on Veterans Day or something, have links there. But if the website has absolutely nothing to do with dentistry, and it's that kind of like random useless link, that's considered spam and that will backfire. But
okay, so if a dentist got has a dental website and he opens up brand new a Facebook page and a Google Plus page, which is Google's Facebook, does that increase his SEO for his dental website?
Yes, to a certain extent. The Google Plus page very much will do that. If you have a lot of times in like rural markets, if you Google dentist in the name of the city, you'll see 7 listings and there's not a single one that has a website. If somebody just verifies their profile, adds their headshot, fills in their hours and information, it's just filling out a form. And there's a little bit of tweaking and tuning that we can do, but if you're in a rural market and you just do that, you'll probably win the contest right out of the gate. And we have several clients that's all we did. If you Google Rain, Louisiana dentist, there are 2 dentists there. One who hired a canned content company, and they just kind of didn't do those kinds of basics, and the other one's Dr. Breezy. And we just did a very minimal amount of effort for him, and he wins all the searches in Rain because he just did the bare minimum, but that's enough. And
okay, but is that just because they did a Google Plus page and the patient was searching on Google, but whether they Facebook or a Twitter or a Pinterest page increased your SEO?
A little bit, yeah. The Google Plus thing is the single most important thing you could do for locally focused searches, and for dentists, you want local focused searches. You're probably less concerned about patients in North Dakota finding you than you are in patients right down the street. So the local matters quite a bit. That should be the first thing you do after the website is claim that local profile, because you also want to be able to direct patients to leave reviews, and you should start with friends and family who are patients. You should be ethical about it. You shouldn't just get random friends. But if your friends and family are patients, start with them and ask them personally to leave a review on your Google, Yelp, Facebook page. We always tell dentists to do that. That's the first thing we tell them to do when they're ready for that.
Now, does it? Now, what if you had the whole family over for Thanksgiving dinner, and they all wrote a review from your home computer for
That's
you?
gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
That because it's gonna all come from the same IP address, the same
Right.
phone number you could speak of. So it's gonna look a little suspicious to Google because this is the same behavior that people trying to cheat have. They all come from the same location, and they're like, this is, we want to believe you that this is, a real person, but it all came from the same place. There are other factors that go into it, how long those people have been on Google. Because a lot of times I'll hear, I just had a patient create a new Google account and then they left a review, 5 stars for the dentist. Well, that's the exact same behavior that someone who's a fraudulent
Okay,
user.
what about this? You cement an anterior crown on a woman with high aesthetic needs who thought it was going to look like some bald guy wearing a fake wig. And you just crush it. And she's all verklempt and she's hugging you and she just loves it. And you say, oh, Mary, can you do me a favor? Can you write me a review? And then she picks up her cell phone and she writes your review, but her phone picked up your free Wi-Fi, or maybe
don't have her go through your Wi-Fi. If she uses 3G or 4G, she's good. And I suspect, because I've noticed the searches that I've done, and in some case the places that I've visited, Google has suggested that I leave a review for those places, and it's almost creepy. Like, how did you know I was there? They're like 75% accurate. I'll see 4 businesses and I've been to 3. Never checked in or did anything. I just searched for them or visited them, with my, phone that has a GPS. And so I think that having the GPS actually may be a positive ranking factor because it proves that you were actually there. And especially if you have an Android device, which is registered with Google, and they know that this is an Android device and this is registered to Jeff Gladnick, and we know he's a real person because somebody's paying the bill. We have the credit card on file. He has a Google account. It's all been verified. I think that actually may be a slight advantage.
But you said don't go through the office Wi-Fi, though.
Yeah, don't go through that because that's going to go through your IP address.
So
they may as well be on one of your computers in the office.
So then tell them to turn off their Wi-Fi and
turn off their Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Turn off the Wi-Fi and go through the phone and write a review on your website through Google+.
Yeah, and the other thing you can do, they may feel pressured if you do that, so you should kind of know them a little bit if you're going to make that kind of request. You don't want to make a patient feel awkward, but you should, if they're really ecstatic and enthusiastic and peppy, take a video review and then send it to them later and say, oh, by the way, I summed up, your comments. Here they are. Your front desk could do this, and just paraphrase what they said. And if you wanted to cut and paste this to online, we'd really appreciate it. And here's a link to our Google profile here. Or if you're a Yelper, we'd love for you to cut and paste this and put it here. But it has to be, and by all means, change it to whatever you like.
Now you said to their Google profile, but we're talking about a review on their website on Google, right?
You want to do a couple things. You want to have video reviews uploaded to YouTube, and they should be shared through your website. That's the best practice as far as we're concerned. And you want to have reviews left directly on Google, Google Plus or Google Look or whatever they've changed the name to this week, left by the patients themselves on their own devices on Google. They have to do it with their own accounts, and
hey, a couple things. We are out of time, and this is the ever since the Great Recession in 2008, marketing return on marketing's plummeted. I mean, everybody will tell you they're spending more on marketing for far less results. The internet, smartphones, everything you're talking about is the hottest subject in dentistry. I wish you could sum up this to-do list, and instead of emailing to me, post it on Dental Town. And for our viewers to find it, and like I say, and this is such a fast emerging field. If you ever want to do another hour, Jeff, I'd so be honored any time.
Oh, the honor's mine, and I can sum up in 30 seconds what dentists should do. You should find an ethical company to at least give you the platform and the tools. And we have customers that have varying degrees of needs in that respect. But find an ethical company who can help you with this, and then get involved in with you and your staff to create unique content that sets you apart from other dentists in your area. It's not good enough anymore to have the same as everybody else. This doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You need to get in the habit of producing content that your patients will love. And you have to find somebody who can help you do that.
And whenever you're on Dental Town and somebody says something bad, there's a report abuse button, and I can sit there and vouch that Jeff is the real deal. He's been around for 6 years, 1,500 posts. All of his clients are townies, which is the most transparent, honest customer feedback you're ever going to get. So if you don't have a guy, Jeff is your man. Jeff, thank you so much for doing this. And when the technology's moving and shaking and you want to come back to another hour, it'd be an honor. I hope you have a rocking hot weekend.
You too, Howard. I really appreciate having me on. Looks like I owe you an article and a review of your website.
And start a thread about this podcast.
Oh, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, it'll be pre-marketing for everybody to hear it.
That's the way it's worked so far. Whenever it's ready, send me a link and I'll share it, and then we'll post the review of your website.
All right, and write me a review for Today's Dental. Say, hey, you're my bald brother from the same mother.
Not only that would violate their terms of service, I never want to do that.
All right, have a great day, buddy.
Have a good one. See you.
All right, bye-bye. Tell your dad I said hi.
Will do.
Okay, bye.